Is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dawes.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels.
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
As Mike Dempsey was exiting the studio, he said, "Go Jags."
Yes.
Yeah, go Jags.
I don't think they can lose this week.
That is correct.
In theory.
Obviously, the bye week, yeah, you can lose.
Some may say they've
People-
already lost.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
So,
Yeah, I think people would be glad if there were changes obviously made. But speaking of that, Jeremy Fowler tweeted out today that, of course, everyone on Monday was bracing for change. I literally think every single person in Jacksonville was bracing for change. And then, of course, nothing happened. So he likened it, or other people have likened it, to deck chairs on the Titanic. I feel like if you're comparing the Jags and the Titanic, I can see some of the similarities. Luckily, no one here is dying, though.
Yeah.
And then he went on to quote a source, "There is talent here, but you have to make plays in this league, and we aren't making them." So that makes it sound like a player is what I would say is the source for Jeremy Fowler there of ESPN. But yeah, it just feels like we've reached kind of the holding pattern, and I didn't expect us to be at 2-9, and I certainly didn't expect there to be no changes to this point in time.
yeah. The rearranging the chairs on the Titanic sound is such an interesting analogy to me because
morbid.
Well, no, it's morbid, but it is it underscores the reality of the ship is sinking. Like the ship is going to go down at some point in time, and rearranging the chairs is not going to change that. And so that's where, for you Jaguar fans who wanted bloodshed, who wanted firing, who are stunned that we are now 72 hours plus removed from the worst defeat in franchise history, statistically speaking, and Shad Khan has done nothing as the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would encourage you to look at that analogy, which is to say, at least from what those around the league are reporting, the ship will go down. It's just that they're allowing for it to slowly capsize in the frigid waters as opposed to, perhaps expediting the process.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to kind of compare it. And if you read the comments, there's a lot of different ways people are going when you agree, disagree, whatever it is. I just think that in that sense, to me, it's more so like you want to, as the organization, be the people getting on the lifeboat and having a chance to survive, and just going down, rearranging the chairs and going down with the ship is probably not the best thing. And that's kind of what popped in my head is if you can just make the end of this season, you're not going to, unless some miracle happens, you're not obviously making the playoffs, and you're not doing anything like you're not doing anything crazy like that. But you do have one of the easiest remaining schedules. 5 of the 6 teams you play have losing records. So if you were to
But you also have a losing record.
Well, yeah, but you also have played some pretty difficult teams recently when it comes to the Packers and when it comes to the Lions and when it comes to the Eagles. And you obviously got rocked by the Lions, but you've had some other close games and the Vikings, and you were able to manage it. So if you could, you're not saving this season, but if you were to able to make some changes and breathe some sort of life into the end of the season, and not saying you're giving hope for the coaching staff, because I think that's completely over and done with, and Trent Baalke when it comes to the fan base believing in that group. But it would give hope that, okay, there are players on this roster that you feel like you can build from, because I think a lot of people now are starting to question some of the things that they thought in the offseason when it comes to the personnel. And everybody I've talked to league-wide says it's like the Jaguars have some really good personnel on that team when it comes to the players actually playing. The problem is beyond that. So if you can salvage some of that and give a little bit of life to the end of the season and show hey, it's not all. There have been some moves when it comes to Tank Bigsby, when it comes to BTJ, when it comes to how they've used Brenton Strange, when it comes to Ventrell Miller and some of these Jarian Jones, some of those type of guys, to just breathe a little bit of life into the organization. I think that it's worth it to not just let go down with the ship now.
If I'm a member of the Kismet staff, I don't like anything being referred to as the Titanic analogy.
We've got 2 great arguments right now being made on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which of course course, you can get in on that conversation at 641-1010, and both have to deal with the boat analogy. From 333, they are allowing the captains to go down with the ship, as Taylor alluded to, which for some Jaguar fans, that will be validation in and of itself. Not too unlike, although a different situation with Doug Marrone and Dave Caldwell once upon a time, in which Shad Khan's edict was largely, okay, you made this mess, you are going to clean it up.
Yeah.
And if you're able to win in the process, perhaps we'll keep you around, but you are the ones who are going to clean it up. And so perhaps that was the conversation that took place between Shad Khan and Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson throughout the week. And then also from 484, please explain to me how continuing to play for bad coaches on a sinking ship is good for development. I'm tired of the idea that changing coaches now doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I especially think for me defensively, the offense, it's really hard for me to discuss because I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to play the rest of the season or not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if it's Mac Jones the rest of the season, I don't know that the Jags win another game. I'm just not sure. The offense wasn't great with Trevor, and it certainly isn't any better with Mac. It's way worse. Defensively, though, I am in the mindset, the philosophy that you can relieve Ryan Nielsen of his duties, and whether it's Chris Richard or if Chris wants to also be fired and go along with Ryan and you have someone else take over as defensive coordinator, maybe that would improve the defense that's the worst in the league, and it's going to end as the worst in the league.
So 762 echoes the sentiment of allow them to go down with the ship. It is like having to coach the rest of the season while rubbing your own face in your own doo-doo every week.
This football season, I feel like there's been more references to that.
To doo-doo,
to crap than any other football season.
Yeah,
one guy cursed the Knowles.
Yeah,
Right.
and there's been some replica attempts at that. But to your point, Lauren, Coach Campo talked about this on Dubell Rundown yesterday. Of course, that's available on the 1010XL Jaguars channel, on YouTube and podcasts. And then he also talked about it on Campo and Joe. His expectation is that the assignments for coaches could be different even if no one has been fired. That's his expectation right now. I'm curious if Chris Richard is the yin to the yang of Ryan Nielsen. How different then does that look? Outside of perhaps one speaks a bit more in placid tones. Is that the right terminology to use? He's a bit more big picture cliches, but also inspirational quotes. And the other one is a little bit more in your face. Outside of how the message is being delivered, I don't really know if their philosophical beliefs are similar and how they're going to run the defense is similar. Then I don't know what that is besides rearranging chairs on the Titanic.
Matt House is here. He was a really good coordinator for LSU's defense last year. You can promote him. He's the linebackers coach.
There you go.
I mean, the linebackers have played well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's honestly been one of the positives because you've seen a guy like Ventrell start taking the step up. Obviously, Foye is who Foye is, but I do think that room has been one of the more impressive ones. And I think that is one of the more difficult things about where the Jaguars are compared to maybe some of the other organizations that are in the fire coach mode is that it doesn't seem like some are shouting fire head coach and you're good. Some are saying you need a new offensive play caller, you're good. And then they like the defensive coach or they like the offensive coach or they like the head coach, whatever it may be. Here, it's pretty much like you don't want Doug, Press, or Ryan at this point. And so if you did make a move, I don't know if that means all three. I don't know if it means like we're just making a statement of like we're trying to change something right now, but that technically doesn't change much moving forward other than, which has been my sentiment this whole week so far, has been other than just taking some accountability and saying we made the wrong coaching hires. This isn't working. We are wanting to get better. We're not trying to like if we're going back to the ship analogy, if the ship is the Jaguars organization, then, and the way to save it is to get off of it, then go ahead and start over. Because to me, that is the best thing that you need to do. Having everybody just go down together, including the players, coaching staff, and the entire organization, and continuing this pattern of not firing in season unless someone kicks a player. It's just one of those things at some point you have to be that bold organization and make those moves or things will never change for the long term.
It just feels so awkward right now. I guess that's the best way I could describe it because it feels like there are people that know that this position that they've held for the last few years is going to come to an end, but they probably thought it was going to be on Monday too.
Yeah.
And now it's not until the end of the season. And so it just feels awkward. Like you are basically a lame duck staff. And you know that if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, it's going to be tough sledding, even though the schedule is more manageable.
It's like when you're growing up and you get in trouble and your parents aren't like yelling or screaming or grounding you. They're just like, we're disappointed. And that's like
That's
worse.
the worst.
It's the worst feeling.
worst.
And that's where this coaching staff has to feel because they're not getting punished for what they're doing. They're just kind of like, you got to live with it.
You gotta sit in that doo-doo. You have to sit in the doo-doo in the bed that you made.
It also reminds me of when you're younger, as far as what I think is going on between the GM and the head coach. And it's like when you're in the back seat with your brother or sister, whatever, and one of you starts it, and then the one who retaliates is the
Gets
one
in
who
trouble.
gets in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
It happens on the football field too, certainly. But like he touched me first. Like I don't care who started it. Like I'm ending it now. Like that's what it feels like. It's like they're pointing fingers. Like, well, he
no,
did
there's
that.
no
well,
one
he
pointing
did that.
fingers. They're saying point the finger at yourself, Lauren.
Right, but that's coach speak. I think from the outside looking in, it just feels like people are going, well, this person did this. Well, this person did this. Well, if I'm shot, I don't care who got us to this point.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to go.
If it is to be the Titanic, if it is believed that the Jaguars organization is sinking, whether those firings come today or they do not come until Black Monday come January, we certainly will be paying attention to Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network's annual 2025 NFL Young Coaches to Watch list. And that was just released on NFL.com. Our stats and info just passed it along to me. And I want to read for you guys a really exciting candidate that is not named Ben Johnson that I think, it's interesting that he makes this list.
It sounds sarcastic.
A two-time national JUCO champion as a quarterback, and the brother of a current NFL head coach. Press Taylor broke into the NFL as a quality control coach in Philadelphia, made a notable contribution to the Eagles' Super Bowl win, reunited in 2022 with Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. He built the offense and quietly called plays in the second half of games. The Jaguars made a surprise playoff run. Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones have all enjoyed career years playing in Jacksonville's offense. This has been an ugly season for the Jags, who are 2-9, including a league-high 6-1 score losses, and are now playing without injured quarterback Trevor Lawrence. But Taylor remains a young assistant worth watching.
If you want,
my eyes just rolled so far into the back of my head.
if you want Press Taylor as a play caller, I mean, I would recommend going and watching the Jags. And it's not all on the play caller. Like, it's not.
No, definitely not.
It's 100% also on, I guess I shouldn't say 100%. It's also on player execution or lack thereof. The play caller hasn't been the world's worst in the entire league. I think with Luke Getsy, Taylor, you would have said, like, and Shane Waldron, certainly, like, the play calling is so bad. I don't think the play calling has been the absolute worst part. But somewhere between the play calling, the design of the offense, and the execution, you've landed where even when Trevor was there, this offense couldn't do anything.
Or perhaps some disdain for said play caller has created, if nothing else, a bit of a rolling an eye moment more than once in the Jaguars locker room.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely been times where we've been like, what the heck was that? Why did you do that in that situation? And I do think that execution has been a large part of the third down and red zone, but I do think that the play calling in those two areas has been really bad.
All right, which 5 offensive players on the Jaguars are you protecting for the future? We will get to that when we return. We'll get to the defensive side. On the other side, in the 1 o'clock hour, Robert Mays will join us right around 1:30. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
He's mastered the art of incognito.
Charming, sophisticated secret agent.
His car line takes you behind enemy lines. 5 hours before kickoff on 1010XL. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. Visit the showroom on Phillips Highway.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
Mia here for MyBookie. Our listeners have been killing it in a year full of surprises. MyBookie is the one book that has your back. No fluff, no second guessing, just straight up action. Does your other sports book pay out when you push on a bet? MyBookie pays you back. And if you're new to the game and not sure where to start, we have you covered too. Step 1, use our promo code 1010XL. That'll double your bankroll with a 100% deposit bonus right from the jump. Let's take a look at some of this week's lines. On Thursday night, the Pittsburgh Steelers are somehow 8-2 and 3.5-point favorites. Only 3.5-point favorites to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have just 2 wins on this year. If you believe the Steelers keep the good vibes going, make sure you pound that 3.5-point line. And, of course, check out free odds boosts each and every Thursday, only on MyBookie. If it hits, you win. If it doesn't, MyBookie refunds your money. Sign up with promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie.
Movember is Cancer Awareness Month, so educate yourself on the risk factors for prostate and other cancers. Take charge of your health. Many cancers are highly preventable. Trust the physicians at Ackerman Cancer Center. AckermanCancerCenter.com.
This is Tony Baselli, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I was known for protecting our quarterback. These days, I'm extending that protection to a different arena, your home. I have partnered with Heritage Roofing of North Florida, your premier local roofers with over 25 years of experience. Heritage is your go-to roofer for hurricane preparation with same-day inspections and estimates. They also work with all insurance companies. Let Heritage Roofing of North Florida safeguard your home and family. Visit heritagenfl.com for your free estimate today.
State license CCC 1335410.
Helmets and heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Grab your lucky spot on the couch, because traditions make Sunday easy to enjoy. Bud Light, easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. Copyright 2024. Anheuser-Busch. Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Everyone who puts on a high school football uniform dreams of Friday Night Glory.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, Friday Night Lights.
Join Hacker and Andrew Gibson, presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning on 1010XL.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all-you-can-eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Holidays are here, and if you're in need of extra cash, Beaches Jewelry and Pawn can help. Gold is at record highs. It's a great time to sell. Bring in your gold for an estimate today. Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
Greetings from Daytona, where a band of dreamers took a strip of beach and turned it into a proving ground. The Great American Race, where year after year, greatness is the destination. So book your experience and soak in 500 miles of history and tradition. The Daytona 500, February 16th, 2025. Secure your seats now at DayTona500.com.
Now, the Performance Painting High Performance Play of the Game. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Cam Little may be a rookie, but this season he has shown that no moment is too massive for him. In the first quarter, Little would knock down a career-long 59-yard field goal, giving Jacksonville a 3-0 lead with 9:36 left in the opening period. The Little field goal is your Performance Painting Play of the Game.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
It's a game 80 years in the making. Join us for Thursday Night Football as we celebrate the 80th birthday of the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl game. The SEC and ACC face off January 2nd at 7:30 on Bill Gay grounds at Everbank Stadium. Don't miss college football pageantry on display as we celebrate our 80th anniversary. Tickets and hospitality packages are on sale now at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. Get yours today.
Toe 10XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Mia, why is expansion draft on your mind these days?
Yeah, so the WNBA, of course, will be adding a team in San Francisco in the Bay Area, the Valkyries, who will play at the same stadium, the Chase Center, as the Golden State Warriors, and they are owned in part by the Golden State Warriors. And so
she said, of course. Taylor, did you know this?
I did not.
Yes. And so, well, if they're in the Bay Area, Valkyrie. Okay. Anyway, point being, because they're going to be adding another team, and because we really don't see this in the four major sports, we haven't seen it since the Kraken were added in Seattle, in the NHL, the Vegas Golden Knights. Yep. We don't see a lot of expansion drafts. And so this is the most recent example in real time that we have seen in which an expansion draft is a reality that not only the team that is constructing a roster has to be considering, but the other teams in their league have to consider, because you need to designate who are your protected players and who is not protected and thus visible during an expansion draft. Of course,
it's wild to me to think y'all were little when the NFL added two teams.
Yes, well,
that's just so crazy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Of course, the most noteworthy example in this town was when Tony Baselli was left available for the Houston Texans in that expansion draft to claim him back in 2000.
Thank you.
Yes, I was 7 years old then, so I don't remember that at all. So, point being, let's play a little. If there was a 33rd team to be added in the National Football League, how many players are we going to say, Lauren?
5.
Okay, 5. So we are going to say 5.
5 offensive and 5 defensive.
Okay, 5
We're keeping all 3 specialists. I'm telling you right now, everyone.
Okay, we'll just keep
We're going to keep the specialists.
Logan and Cam are all on our team.
When it comes to WNBA expansion, they're protecting 5 of the 12 players on the roster. So we're going to do 5 on offense, 5 on defense. Who are the players that you are protecting from that 33rd overall team from selecting?
Yeah, so Taylor, I think this is the biggest question to me is Trevor Lawrence on Taylor's 5 keeping? So I'll let you answer that first.
Yes, actually,
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence is. It was funny because as I was when we first came up with this idea, initially I was like, honestly, I feel like this will be pretty easy to have 5 and 5. And then I got to the end, my 5th player on both lists, and I was like, I don't know a 5th player that I absolutely want, to be honest with you.
That's funny. I had a hard time coming up with trimming it to 5.
Really?
On offense.
Yeah, I was just, and maybe it was because I don't know. Anyways, so offensive, yes, Trevor Lawrence is making my team, is going to be saved. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be saved. Tank Bigsby is going to be saved. Anton Harris is going to be saved. And Evan Ingram are my 5 offensive.
So I have the same first 4 as you do. Trevor Lawrence, Anton Harris, and Brian Thomas Jr., Tank Bigsby. And to point out, all of those guys are 25 and under, which is great as far as the future is concerned. But I'm going to have Christian Kirk instead of Evan Ingram, age being a factor, even though Kirk is only 2 years younger than Evan. But Evan is 30 now. Kirk is 28. And there's just that relationship between Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk on the field, off the field. It feels like when Kirk is around, things are going well for this organization. It feels like when he's hurt, things are not going well. So I've got
and
Kirk.
that hurt is why I didn't put him on there.
And I get that. Yeah,
back season. It's
right.
concerning for me.
Injury-prone season-ending injuries 2 years in a row. Mia.
Oh, I'm putting the GM cap on. We're looking ahead to the future here. So Trevor Lawrence, yes.
Oh, I tried. I did.
He and his 5-year, $250+ million contract, he's saved. He will be protected in this expansion draft. Brian Thomas Jr., honestly, maybe higher on the pecking order at this juncture in terms of who you're protecting.
Yeah.
I am also protecting Anton Harrison because of the investment in him and as a first-round pick.
And he could be your left tackle.
And, of course, how open he's been to the inconsistencies of this season, but how he wants to get better. I am also protecting Evan Ingram. That one was tough for me because the reality is he is 30 years old, or he will be 30 years old.
He is 30, yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough to wrap your head around. I honestly thought about protecting Brenton Strange instead.
I thought about him too.
I did too, actually.
But at the
I just haven't seen quite enough.
And a general manager may, because a general manager may say, hey, you know what? Evan Ingram only has 1 year left on his deal here anyways.
Yeah.
And so that one definitely put an asterisk on. And then I am not protecting Travis Etienne. I am protecting Tank Bigsby because of the number of years that he still has remaining on his rookie deal here in Jacksonville. Now,
so y'all's were exactly the same.
Yes.
Oh, they are, yeah.
Okay. And the only difference I had was Kirk instead of Ingram.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I do think that if Trevor wasn't paid, there would be a section of the fan base right now, if he hadn't gotten the extension already, that would be saying, I am ready to. They're already saying it, and he's gotten the extension.
They're on the text line right now. Somebody just said that this team's never getting out of the mud until they get rid of Trevor, which.
And so I honestly thought about it for a second. I really did. I've been one of the more critical in times of Trevor, but I've also seen how difficult it is to get a decent quarterback in the NFL. And there's teams that would be begging for Trevor Lawrence right now at this point in time. And I think that when you look at that, you do have to think about everything else. If we're going to talk about the surroundings of the team and what's gone wrong, and if we're going to say it's not just the play calling, it's execution, it's this, and this. For Trevor, there are other factors of why things haven't been to the level where we thought they would be. But I genuinely believe that with the right play caller and with an offensive line that is healthy and not switching up every single week, that we would be able to see the Trevor that we saw at the end of 22 and watch that continue to grow. And so I questioned it but then part of me was like, there's literally nobody else that I feel like is worth saving. And I tried to go deeper. I really did. I was looking at the offensive linemen, is there anybody I see like Cooper Hodges or someone like that? And I just haven't seen enough from any of those guys. And some of it came to health for me. That's why Christian Kirk wasn't on there for me. Evan Ingram, there's two guys on each side, my offensive and defensive. For the most part, I went young, but there's one guy on each side that I went that's a little older. And for me, that is because I still think that if you're building a new organization, you still need some sort of veteran leadership on there. And I think that type of guy is somebody that you'd still need in the next 5 years.
Now, what's interesting, and again, I think it's different for basketball and football, but what I think is interesting is if you are to be building this 33rd expansion team in the National Football League, a hypothetical example that we are going through, folks, in case you're just tuning into the Superstation.
Bye week.
Yes, bye week talk.
People are turning in. They're like, what?
I'm curious, because this has been the talk of the WNBA, right? It's been, okay, well, if you were to leave, Caitlin Clark available, to be claimed by the Valkyries, the additional team that's coming into the WNBA, they're going to take her. First off, she's on a rookie contract. Second of all, even if she did have a high commanding salary, they would find a way around it. What I'm curious is someone like a Christian Kirk or like an Evan Ingram that does command a sizable salary, or, I don't know, as we look ahead to the defensive side of the ball, Josh Hines, Allen, Tyson Campbell with their salary, if you are this 33rd team, are you going to say that player's available, I will take them, but I also have to take on that contract? And that's where I think you can get a little bit more strategic and put your GM cap on here. And to your point, Taylor, maybe you do say, well, they're probably more likely, if he had stayed healthy, to take a Cooper Hodges, who's a young ascending player, than they are to say, oh, well, Brandon Scherf's available. I'm going to go take him because I need a veteran offensive lineman. And so, therefore, you would protect Hodges because they don't want to sign up for the money number that comes with the veteran free agent.
Going back to the quarterback, Mike Tomlin had his choice of quarterbacks this offseason, went ahead and got Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. If you asked Mike Tomlin, in all honesty, lie detector test on, would he rather have Trevor Lawrence or the situation he's got now? I really don't know the answer to that question.
I don't either.
I can tell you what Kyle Shanahan would probably say.
Yeah.
He would take Trevor in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Sure. But I really don't know what Mike Tomlin would do because he has a different philosophy when it comes to quarterback.
Yeah, he definitely does. And that's an interesting thing to think about. And obviously, Mike Tomlin has made a lot of really good decisions. So whatever decision he would make out of that would probably be the right one.
And Tomlin we trust.
Yeah. I do think that he went two very different routes this offseason and taking Justin and Russ. Obviously, you get a young player. He got a veteran. He got two very different style players, too. So I think he did the perfect thing for what the Steelers needed. We have these two options of guys that play very different, so we can ask them to do different things. So it would be interesting interesting. I think part of that, though, is they gave nothing for Russell Wilson, and that obviously would not have been anything
Sure,
close
yeah, that
to
situation
Trevor.
was so different because of what happened with him in Denver and things like that. But yeah, I think most NFL franchises would love to have Trevor Lawrence. It's just the ones that we know have certain quarterbacks, like a Lamar Jackson, who's special, like a Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Probably Harbaugh's going to keep Herbert. Joe Burrow, I would expect Zach Taylor to keep Joe Burrow. Those guys all over Trevor. But there's a lot of teams that I think, like if you ask Seattle, would they rather have Trevor Lawrence over Geno Smith? Absolutely.
Yeah, we know who they'd say. We do love the Heeligans on the MyBookie Digital Studio as well. They're workshopping their own list of the players they would protect in a hypothetical expansion draft. Boys, girls, I do want to note that we did lead off by saying we're protecting the three specialists. Like, that's allowed. You're allowed to protect your three specialists. So I know
the best in the business.
I see you guys trying to find a way to get, like Logan Cook / Cam Little. Don't worry. Those three are safe. You don't have to include them in your hypothetical exercise. And we are going to do 5 offensive players and 5 defensive players. Floyd says his 5 players that he would protect: Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., Anton Harrison, Tank Bigsby, and Brenton Strange. He would let Evan Ingram walk. And I'm kind of leaning in that same direction, although certainly some of you on the text line are making the argument of you want someone to take that player because then so therefore you would expose them to the waivers because you want to be free of said contract, which some of you said for Trevor, which whatever, that's your prerogative.
Some people do not like what they've seen out of the quarterback. That's just the way it is.
Fine. You can have your opinion on how you feel about that.
People didn't like Peyton Manning in Indianapolis.
He threw a lot of interceptions when his career first started. Look where he ended up.
Yeah, exactly. Hef says quickly on the offensive side of the ball before we take our next break and then do the defensive side of the ball: Trevor Lawrence, Walker Little, Brian Thomas Jr., Anton Harrison, and Evan Ingram.
Have you seen enough from Walker Little to know? Because he's also going to cost a lot of money because he's going to be a free agent.
Yep, he's given up 0 pressures each of the last 2 weeks. I believe he's among only a handful of linemen in the league to do so. And, of course, that was against the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings defense, excuse me. So that should be noted. Those are 2 of the most high-powered defenses in the National Football League.
But notice there's a theme. Pretty much everyone has Trevor, Anton, BTJ.
Yeah, well,
and a lot of people with Tank as well.
Yeah, and our final one, Mike, also does. Tank, Trevor, BTJ, Cam Little. No, don't worry. Cam Little's okay.
He's there, I promise.
He's going to be saved regardless. And then Anton Harrison.
All right, we will get to the defensive side of the ball when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It's 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Small business, big target. Double Check provides AI-powered cybersecurity solutions to small businesses so you can keep your eye on the ball. Book your free consultation this month for 10% off your first 6 months. Visit doublecheck.com today.
At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. Lauren Brooks here as your hometown Mazda dealer. Their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team puts your best interest first without exception. And all new car purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Plan. Visit them online at hodgesmazda.com or stop in today during Mazda's A Season to Move You event and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, in talking about the quality of cut of a diamond, is there a particular diamond cutter that's known as the best?
Frank, the answer is yes, and that would be Hearts on Fire, who have the world's most perfectly cut diamond, and we have them now at Underwoods. When anybody comes in and looks at one of these diamonds, the first thing they say is, wow! That's because these diamonds are cut from absolute maximum beauty and are really worth seeing, so you have an idea of how good a diamond can really look. They have perfect polish, perfect symmetry, and perfect proportions, and are backed up with an American Gem Society diamond quality document. Now, not every diamond could be a Hearts on Fire diamond because only certain rough diamonds in the hands of the most skilled cutters working in state-of-the-art cutting facilities can cut these. In fact, only 200 diamond cutters out of the 1 million people employed in the diamond cutting trade are skilled enough to cut Hearts on Fire diamonds.
See Hearts on Fire now at Underwoods, San Marco, Avondale, the shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why, their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Hold up, let me say that again. 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Picking here with a message from Zero Res. You got to just love this time of the year as we reflect on the things that matter most. Families, homes, the holidays, and of course, football. They're very grateful for you all, the good people of Jacksonville, and they want to thank you. So get ready for the holidays. Book today, and Zero Res will clean your carpets for only $49 a room. Plus, they'll give you 25% off your tile cleaning. This one fills up fast, so book now on both carpet and tile. Zero Res. Fill it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I just cannot say enough good things about my friends at Pella Windows and Doors. They have the highest quality products, the strongest limited warranties in the industry, and they just flat out look amazing. But don't just take my word for it. Consumer Reports still has Pella rated #1 in all 3 major window categories, so why not go with the best? Call them today or visit the Pella showroom and be sure to ask about the latest hurricane and impact-resistant windows. That's Pella Windows and Doors on Phillips Highway, and tell them Mike sent you.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 20th, 1977, NFL running back for the Chicago Bears, Walter Payton, rushes for 275 yards, setting a new NFL record.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barry here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barry Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarryOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barry Orthopedics.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Anthony. I've been practicing criminal defense law for over 40 years. It's what I love to do, what I do well. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. 285-4LAW for Malcolm Anthony.
Stop letting high-interest debt weigh you down. Pay it all off in days thanks to Loan Pronto's new Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Imagine a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home equity. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan uses an AI-driven tech to get you approved for cash in as little as 1 day. One client got $100,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their debt, launched a home improvement project, and is now saving over $1,000 a month. Instant approvals, low fixed rates, fast transfers. Get cash to consolidate all your debt and get a fresh start for the new year. Call Loan Pronto now and see how much you qualify for. Imagine this time next week, you can be credit card debt-free. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLS, consumeraccess.org.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
The Jaguars placed wide receiver Gabe Davis on season-ending injured reserve on Tuesday with a knee injury. Davis's injury marks yet another veteran wide receiver gone for the season after Christian Kirk suffered a broken collarbone in October. Jaguars rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. spoke in the locker room this week about losing Gabe Davis.
I mean, yeah, he was one of the veterans that I looked up to. Just him and Kirk when I first came in, they took me in, just taught me a lot of stuff. So I'm missing for sure.
Brian Thomas Jr. on the injury to Gabe Davis. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale Lighting, Fans, and Home Decor on 1010XL.
All right, to recap, we are telling you our 5 offensive players and defensive players on the Jaguars we will protect for the future. We gave you our offensive. We all had Trevor Lawrence, Anton Harrison, Brian Thomas Jr., Tank Bigsby. Mia and Taylor had Evan Ingram, and I had Christian Kirk, although Mia wants to switch out to Brenton Strange, but I don't think you pulled the trigger.
I think I am. I think the Heeligans on the MyBookie Digital Studio convinced me. Yeah,
Okay.
so we will. And especially because, Lauren, in the vein of what we just discussed, we have to look at this not just from a emotional win now perspective, but from the concept of Evan Ingram has a sizable deal still remaining on his contract at 30 years old. Is there a team that would enter this league as a 33rd team that would be interested in picking him up? I do think so, and that's where maybe...
Yeah, I think so.
I do have
especially
pause.
when you look around the league at some, and obviously we don't know. This is going into what other 31 teams players are they going to protect? I'm assuming most teams with good tight ends are protecting your tight ends because tight ends have become such a focal point of offenses now. So I think the pickings would be slim, or you'd have guys that maybe are in the beginning and you haven't quite seen yet. People know what Evan Ingram is, and they've seen the increase of Evan Ingram. Even when Daniel Jones was throwing to Evan Ingram, he was still a good tight end. So I think people would focus on that, and I think they still would pay Ingram.
So here's the thing, though.
He's also really good at. Did you know he's one of the better pass blocking tight ends in the league this year? This year he is ranked one of the highest pass blocking tight ends,
which is a credit to him and the work he put in this offseason, because I know that was a focal point for him.
But do you think you could get a good rookie tight end, since now tight ends, even as rookies, are starting to perform better, like a Brock Bowers, even though
You
he's
can.
special?
Well, I think Brock Bowers is a unicorn,
He is.
so
He's
he gets.
special.
And
But-
I mean, maybe that kid out of Penn State, but that kid I think is even more of a unicorn. Tyler Warren, dude. I mean, I've never seen a tight end do as much in the offensive game plan as what he does, and that is with all due respect to Brock Bowers, who did a whole heck of a lot for Georgia in his 3 years in Athens. That kid, I mean, whoever's drawing up plays up in Penn State, God bless you. I do want to remind you there are other players on your football field you can get the ball to. If Tyler Warren's your best player, get your best player the football.
We've said that a time or two around
I do want to note. I do want to just note with this exercise that we're doing, which in case you're just joining us again, we are drafting / protecting players if there was to be a hypothetical 33rd team added to the National Football League, and if there was an expansion draft, what 5 offensive Jaguars, what 5 defensive Jaguars would you protect in said expansion draft? And
we protected the specialists. Reminder, we protected the specialists.
The specialists are all protected. Don't worry, all 3 all pros. They're all safe. They're good to go. They will be here in Jacksonville. That brings me to my next point. We are doing the drafting here. We are doing the protecting. But that's what's going to be so fascinating over the next 6 weeks, when inevitably we do get to draft talk here on the Superstation. We don't know who will be doing the drafting for your Jacksonville Jaguars come April. And that is where even this exercise, I've had pause as I've gone through and tried to make the decisions of which players I would protect, because I'm trying to put on the hat of Trent Baalke.
Don't take it off.
Right. And that's the difficult part, is trying to then wrap my head around, well, what would a new GM with fresh ideas and a younger, more contemporary mind, whatever you want to call it, what would they think? But they may say, well, I'm not attached to any of these massive contracts that you handed out, so I don't feel compelled to protect those players.
Yeah, I think this exercise is what would I do if it was up to me and they gave me the reins to the franchise. And so defensively, I'm going to keep Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen. Yes, expensive contract, I know, but I like the 2 of them together. Foye Luakin, Ventrell Miller, and Tyson Campbell. two people that I wanted to keep, but I couldn't. Mason Smith, I just haven't seen enough out of him, but I think he could be really good in this league. And Jarian Jones, who I've seen a lot out of, and I love him as a young nickel, but I didn't have room for them. Tyson Campbell at times has disappointed, yes, but overall, I think he's a really good corner. And so I've got my edges. I feel really secure in that, and I've got two inside linebackers. I just have to get a lot more secondary pieces, that's for sure. Mia, who you got?
Yeah, so again, that's why I gave the preface of the Trent Baalke GMing, because I have a similar list to you, Lauren. I have Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Ventrell Miller, Foye Oluokun.
4 for 4.
And I do have Jarian Jones.
Okay.
However, if we are to do this based on our opinion, that's who I would protect. If I was Trent Baalke in this hypothetical scenario, he is allowing Foye Oluokun to be unprotected. Because number one, he's going to go out and he's going to draft a linebacker anyways on day 3. And number two, despite the fact that he's been a healthy scratch, despite the fact that he's been battling an ankle injury, he probably protects Mason Smith because of the second-round investment that was made in him and because of the untapped potential.
All right, so 4 for 4, and then you've got Jarian Jones. I've got Tyson Campbell. How about you, Taylor?
Mine's at the same as Mia. I had Jarian Jones in there, yeah. So Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Ventrell Miller, Jarian Jones, and Foye Oluokun. I went Jarian. I honestly have some concerns with Tyson Campbell. I think there's really good moments, but I've seen too many not in the last year and also again, this goes back to my injuries thing too. I want players that can be on the football field, and I feel like when you were at your best at the end of 2022, it was because everybody was healthy. So if you can keep players on the field that have been, and injuries happen, you can't always predict those, but there are certain guys, unfortunately, that have kind of that lingering over them. And I just feel like I was really, really high on Tyson and truly thought it was going to be this season where I was going to talk about him being one of the better corners coming out of the league. And I've went opposite way with him. So I've seen way too much good out of Jarian Jones to not want him, just to not want to keep him right now.
Right, and obviously this exercise too, the salary cap matters, but if you're starting an expansion team, you have a lot of room to work with because you haven't paid a ton of guys. And right now, I mean, the Jaguars are in a position where they're going to have some serious conversations, not about the guys they've extended. Those guys will be here, but about some of the other guys, like an Eric Armstead. I don't know where he fits with this franchise moving forward. And yes, a lot of it depends on who's the GM, who's the head coach. That's, of course, a disclaimer we have to put out. But as of now, it's Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson.
Yeah, because I do think that Trent Baalke, and I mean, there'd be no doubt that if this happened, Trent Baalke, who knows, I can't say who he's saving and who he's not saving, but I can tell you when we get to the draft, we're probably getting several linebackers and defensive tackles because that's what it's been. And so I think that you would hope, and this is why I said please take the Baalke hat off, because if we want to build something, a good expansion team, then we're not drafting, then Trent Baalke cannot be drafted.
Briefly, back to our initial topic on today's program, courtesy of Jeremy Fowler and what he's hearing around the National Football League, and the idea of changes right now for the Jacksonville Jaguars would just be shifting the chairs around on the Titanic. From 536 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, and to your point regarding Eric Armstead, Lauren, 536 says, I disagree with the Titanic analogy. A new DC can improve the product for the customers by just stopping the hockey rotations and telling Eric Armstead to play tackle or go home. That is one example.
I've been saying that since August.
Yeah, I do think that we've taken a lot of issue with certain guys being off the field. That would be guys like Foye Oluokun at times. That would be guys certainly like Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. I tweeted during the Lions game, this was early before the game was out of hand, that Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker needed to both beat Eric Armstead in rock, paper, scissors, because at times Eric was on the field playing edge and both of them were on the sidelines, and that should never happen. But I don't think that it's that simple. I don't think this team all of a sudden is winning and beating even teams with when Trevor was playing
winning
quarterback.
some of those
with just
one-score
those
games.
with just those two small changes. I mean, they seem large, especially the hockey shift at times. But I don't even think that. I think the total defense is a mess.
I think you don't allow 52 if some changes like that happen, because, and I was talking to some people around the league the last couple of days about Ryan Nielsen, just asking questions of, what is the deal? Because things felt like the Jags have one of the lowest blitz percentage in the league this year. Daniel Griffiths posted that earlier. And to me, it doesn't make sense, because it was this guy who was this attack style aggressive defense. And it just feels like, and we talked about it a little bit. Is it because in Atlanta he didn't have the talent quite on paper that the Jags did? So that rotation helped because you were getting these guys that are kind of okay guys in and out and whatever, rather than now he's having to make these decisions that like these guys should be on the field more because they're really good. I don't know. But most people I talked to honestly were like, I think it was a little luck for him last year because Atlanta had the easiest schedule in the league. Almost every single one of them said that. They were facing, the offenses they were facing was nobody's.
Well, they got to face the Panthers twice and the Saints twice.
And so every single person I talked to factored that in of they probably should have, any team who signed Ryan Neal or got Ryan Nielsen probably should have waited another year to see the Falcons go up against some opponents and quarterbacks that were a little more like testing their defense. And so that was an interesting thing to me, but it is kind of one of those situations where it's not working. And so to me, any slight change I think would give you at least some hope.
Well, back to the point about Eric Armstead, and if you could simply slide him in to defensive tackle and stick him there and say, no more edge, it's over, the experiment is over, that would cure this Jaguars pass rush. Our friend Daniel Griffiths, I don't know, did you guys see the stats from this morning yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he went through and he did the pass rush duo production share, and Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, once again, are in the top 5 in terms of the percentage share of total pressures and sacks that their team has generated. They are 4th. They are behind only Trey Hendrickson and Joseph Osai in Cincinnati, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson in Houston, Joey Bosa and Leonard Floyd in San Francisco. And that one surprises me because that is a defense out there in the Bay Area that is predicated on having shifts of defensive linemen. They don't sub out their linebackers. They don't sub out their secondary members.
Yeah.
But they do have waves of defensive linemen that they can throw at you. And so the fact that the bulk of their production is coming from 2 guys, that one surprises me. Mm-hmm. It's not a surprise to see Trayvon and Josh that high on the list.
No.
But it is a problem because now we are once again in the cycle. It's a Small World music is playing, da-da-da-da-da-da, or like the hamster wheel, for a second straight season. Ever since Arden Key left for Tennessee, I know he built the city. Ever since DeJuan Smoot suffered a torn Achilles on the field at MetLife, you have not had a 3rd or a 4th pass rusher on the edge. Last year, you assumed a one-legged Smoot and Kaylavon Chason would be enough. It was not. This offseason, what did you do? Well, Eric Armstead can rotate, and Yasir Abdullah, he doesn't even line up on the edge. Yeah. They're lining him up in the B gap. They're not even lining him up where he, at Louisville once upon a time, had 2 seasons of double-digit sacks. And so that's what I think is so frustrating. And that's where this is a much larger, much like the offense, ecosystem conversation than it is simply, hey, let's just move this player and everything's fine.
Since we all mentioned Daniel Griffith's stats, or y'all did, I'll just add to the trifecta then. The Jaguars' offense and defense are in a perpetual state of hurting one another. Jacksonville ranks last in average time of possession at 25 minutes and 53 seconds, and 30th in average starting field position. So if you want to know how already systems that aren't working well go backwards, pretty much that'll tell you. All right, so we've got more to do on the other side. I want to ask y'all a college football playoff committee question, and we also have Taylor's Tangent as well as Robert Mays. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Let's go, defense! A good-looking defense does more than protect your zone. It can enhance your home. Hey, this is our house! This is our house! After the game, catch the superior fence and rail defensive player of the game on 1010XL.
Mia here for my friends at Projax Roofing. Meteorological hurricane season ends on November 30th. If your roof took on any damage at all during Hurricane Helene or Hurricane Milton, know that Projax Roofing is here to help. From the smallest of repairs to full roof replacements, my friend Mike has been serving all of Northeast Florida for 25 years. While we hope everyone stayed safe during those 2 storms and any that may be coming in the next 10 days, if you need help with your roof, call Projax Roofing at 904-338-1722 or visit them online at ProjaxRoofingFL.com.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Blue here for the blue. Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
David Garrard here. Playing in the NFL can put a lot of wear and tear on your body, especially your knees. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has kept me mobile and ready to tackle every day.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Florida's weather is unpredictable. Don't let the Epic Chill catch you off guard. For reliable heating services, call Epic Cool Heating and Air. Keep your home cozy all season long. Call 904-859-EPIC. 904-859-3742.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Regular strength training is key to maintaining muscle mass. Like muscle building, you need to stress the muscle to maintain strength. This means lifting enough weight and doing enough reps to the point where it's too hard to do one more. Yoga and Pilates are also lower impact muscle building workouts that help maintain lean body mass and improve flexibility. Let's get moving, Jacksonville.
Mia here for MyBookie. Our listeners have been killing it in a year full of surprises. MyBookie is the one book that's got your back. No fluff, no second guessing, straight up action. Does your other sports book pay out when you push on a bet? MyBookie pays you back. And if you're new to the game and not sure where to start, we've got you covered. Step 1, use our promo code 1010XL. That will double your bankroll with a 100% deposit bonus right from the jump. Here's a pro tip to get you rolling. The NFL teams with powerhouse offensive lines are dominating the run game this year, and betting game total unders has been printing money. Stack that with MyBookie's risk-free Thursdays. Why wait? That's right there, a new risk-free odds boost every Thursday. To find the bet, click the Bet Boost tab and scroll down. If it hits, you win. If it doesn't, MyBookie refunds your money. Sign up now and get your double deposit bonus with MyBookie, the best sign-up bonus for Florida bettors. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyouBlow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
Universal Roof and Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game. Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
Brian Thomas Jr. showed no quit on Sunday while in the Motor City. The teal and black wideout recorded 82 yards on 5 receptions, averaging 16 yards per reception. The young rookie was simply everywhere for Jacksonville on the offensive side of the ball and is your Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
Break in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a free wind mitigation inspection. With financing options as low as $115 a month, protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. Offer expires November 30th. Protect your home and your wallet.
License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
The Golf Club of Southampton has plenty going on, from a great round to a round with your buds, soaking up some football and great grub. Every Saturday and Sunday at Southampton, enjoy their game day special. Wings tossed in your favorite sauce and a cold pitcher of beer. Membership opportunities to take advantage of, too. Join Southampton with a paid initiation, and you'll get a $500 gift card. Perfect for golf, pro shop purchases, or the clubhouse. Check it out. It's all happening at the Golf Club of Southampton.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. Brought to you by Prize Picks. Gators men's basketball added another win under their belt to start their season 4-0 after their win over Florida A&M last night, 84-60. Even with their 24-point win, head coach Todd Golden spoke post-game on areas of the game he felt like the Gators could improve upon.
You know, I just thought in the second half we let our foot off the gas a little bit. I thought stylistically, I thought offensively we played pretty well. We did not shoot it well. Missed, 15 threes. I thought we allowed that to affect our defense a little bit in the second half, and we just fouled way too much on the defensive end. Sent them to the line 19 times in the second half. And like I talked about with the guys, in the locker room, our expectation is to be able to play 2 complete halves, play 40 minutes. I thought tonight, we played 20 really good minutes in the first half, and then we were just okay in the second.
Gators next take on Southern Illinois this Friday at home. Tip off at 7 o'clock. It's 80 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Wednesday afternoon. All right, Notre Dame, I feel like, is a perfect example to lead into this question that I'm going to ask y'all. The College Football Playoff Committee, I'm not worried about the rankings. Don't focus on those. Don't lose sleep over those. Let the season play out and then discuss the rankings at that point in time. But if you were on the College Football Playoff Committee, as we know, Notre Dame, one of the best 10 teams in the country, certainly. They only have one loss, the Irish do. But it was to a team that was unranked then, will finish the season unranked in Northern Illinois.
7th place in the MAC.
Are you punishing a team like Notre Dame because of that bad loss? Is that way more for you? Or are you going to turn around and say another team like in Indiana, if Indiana beats Ohio State, I'll just use that as an example. Wow, what a win, second-ranked team in the country. And then if Indiana turned around and lost to another bad team, that's neither here nor there, I guess, at that point. But these teams, I guess I should take more. Indiana would be undefeated. I'll take a Georgia. Georgia has beaten a team like Tennessee this past weekend. So that's a really good win for Georgia. Mm-hmm. And they don't really have any bad losses necessarily. But are you taking those good wins and are you weighing those
What do you
more?
value? The good wins
or the bad losses?
This is going to be really bad radio, Lauren, but it is honestly one of the funniest things I've seen on the internet today. And so I will pass the laptop to you and Taylor, but I will read it aloud first for our Heeligans. It's available at College FB on X, and it is a Sunny Street comic book. And so the top of the 2 quadrants has a man going up to a woman who is clearly interested in him romantically. And he says, I'm 9-1, and my only loss comes to the 7th place MAC team, and Notre Dame's logo is over him. And the woman says, here's a first-round home game. Then a little bit more of an overweight gentleman with box-shaped glasses comes over. He has the SMU logo on his face. He says, I'm 9-1. My only loss came to a top 15 team. And the woman says, get out of my playoffs. And that's kind of where we're at. Because, ultimately, you can also look at the actual rankings where BYU, who lost to SMU, they are ranked ahead of SMU, and I'm not really sure how that makes a whole lot of sense. So to answer your question, Lauren, I think the committee is taking much more value in who your wins are against than they are who your losses are against, which, credit to that, but that is something that could come back to haunt Indiana. Because as Joey Galloway so eloquently stated last night, and I say that in jest because I honestly had to mute it because I couldn't handle him anymore, when he talked about how awful the schedule that Indiana has had to play and how awful all these teams are. Sorry they're not your Ohio State Buckeyes. I am now rooting for the Hoosiers more than I ever have before after watching last night's college football playoff selection show, because guess what? This is the schedule that Indiana was given. I understand it's the 100 ranked strength of schedule in the country. This is what they were given.
Although they can schedule non-conference games, like to Georgia's point.
Correct.
Of course, Georgia wants to say, well, we started the season with Clemson, a really good team, and we beat them.
But that would also have been a schedule that was determined, 5-6 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Signetti wasn't even at JMU 5-6 years ago. And so that's where I think it's unfair to penalize a first-year regime that was given this schedule, is coaching at a Power 4 level for the very first time. They have beaten everybody outside of Michigan by 2 scores or more, and you are going to drag them through the mud by virtue of, well, they haven't played anybody. Well, it's not like they can go out and say, hey, Texas, you want to play tomorrow? Like, they can't do that.
They did play FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte for some of the non-conference games. So again, I'm not penalizing Indiana in terms of that, but also Saturday's game will go a long way to determining that.
For sure.
But I do think that moving forward, this is what this year, with the first year of the 12-team playoff, is going to teach teams. Do you get penalized for losing games against good teams, so therefore you should schedule the easier non-conference games? Or are you going to be validated by playing some of those really difficult non-conference games? And so, therefore, scheduling-wise, like I saw yesterday, Notre Dame went ahead and scheduled to a home-and-home with Texas moving forward. And so, but is that going to be worth it for them if they lose that game?
I mean, Notre Dame does that every year, though. It's been like Ohio State's and Miami. Like, they always.
And Notre Dame's different because they're not in
Texas
the
A&M
conference, so they have more leeway to schedule stuff.
Yeah. And to me, the main thing is there's a reason that these rankings are like a weekly thing and change constantly. Because if you are judging a team completely about who they are right now and this week as to who they were in week 2, then you're probably doing it wrong. Because I'll tell you one thing, Notre Dame right now is not the team that they were in week 2. And we talked a ton about that offensive line, for example. Coming into the season, the offensive line had 6 total starts between the 5 guys. And so you were seeing that in week 2. Riley Leonard was getting absolutely crushed. Riley Leonard also was learning a new playbook, had a new offensive coordinator, new weapons, all of these things that he was trying to figure out. If you've watched Notre Dame the last 3-4 weeks and what Riley Leonard, the offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in the league right now. And so you can tell that this team isn't that team. And it sucks that they lost to that. You should not lose to a MAC team, especially a not very good MAC team. But I do think that if you are just strictly rating people of like, oh, well, they had a really good win against here, or they had a really good loss against here, you're doing it wrong, because what you should be doing is ranking the football team that is right now, that is this week. And yes, wins and losses are going to factor into that. Their strength of schedule is going to factor into that. And so that's why I think it's a lot more complex than just saying, oh, this team beat this team and this team lost to this team. You also have to truly think about who you really think are the best 12 teams in the country right now. And I know we had this conversation when it came to UCF, and when it was like, did they didn't make it, or FSU last year because losing Jordan Travis last year, they felt like they were not one of the best teams in college football. And so I do think it goes beyond just saying the wins, losses. I think you have to look more into that. And I think right now the committee is looking at Notre Dame and saying, this is a completely different team that was in week 1 and 2. And oh, by the way, when they were not still a good team in week 1, they beat Texas A&M.
Who is Penn State? Who is Penn State's biggest victory over?
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah. Illinois.
Round of applause, RJ. Thank you, Lauren.
I don't. That's where, I mean, again, it's their record is right now what the committee is going off of.
Yeah.
I would love to know that the committee spends every waking moment watching every single second of all of these teams, but we know that's not the case. Yeah. They're going to catch highlights here and there, and so they miss some stuff. We understand that. But I like to look at it that right now, for instance, in the SEC, these teams have really hard schedules because of who they're playing, and they are cannibalizing each other. But at the end of the day, they're not all going to get in. And so, yes, the SEC and the Big Ten may want an expanded playoff beyond 12 at some point in time, and those will be conversations. But for the here and now, let's see who the 4 best SEC teams are that are going to make it in.
I'm sorry, Mangler. I'm sorry to do this to you, although I believe in my heart of hearts and in our conversations, I know you and so many Penn State fans share this same anger that is inside of me. To answer your first question, Lauren, Penn State's best win is Illinois, who dropped out of the rankings last week and just checked back in at number 25. They were 19th in the country at the time. Penn State beat them 21-7.
And that was in September.
which again are different team than they were. Well, okay, so you want to go to something a little bit more recent then. All right, well, they beat
Ohio State. Let's talk about that game.
They got beat by Ohio State, which was just a comedy of errors. And I understand it's a one-score loss, so sure, maybe that's why you want to keep them in the top 5.
Games like that, by the way, Ohio State, Penn State will make you hate Big Ten football.
Correct. They boat raced a 1-win Purdue team. They boat raced a Washington team that can't play away from the state of Washington. USC is perhaps the most disappointing team in the country. They're a 5-win outfit. UCLA is a 4-win outfit. And oh, great, you went on the road and you got that win at the Coliseum. Yeah, 33-30. You escaped from a 5-win team
in overtime.
And
you finished the season at Minnesota and home against Maryland.
How much do you think it factors in for ones that say it's teams that so we have the preseason rankings, obviously, which we always say are kind of all over the place because quarterbacks
FSU
are
is a
gone
top 10 team.
Yes, and so how much do you think they factor in of like this was supposed to be a good team, but because of injuries or because of coaching or because of the amount of players left that they're not as good? Because when you look at Penn State's schedule, it's a lot of those type of teams: a USC, a Washington, a lot of teams that were ranked at the start of the season and have disappointed.
I hope they don't look at that. I hope that they focus solely on what's happened this season because anything that happened last season is completely different. Like we just talked about with FSU, look at the season and the difference between last year and this year. I just hope that they take the time to appreciate teams that are playing the very difficult schedules. And I don't just say that from an SEC perspective. I think there are years that the Big Ten is going to be such a difficult conference. It just may not be this year.
Because to that point, Taylor, if we want to go through this and make this exercise about Indiana, for me, Indiana's most impressive win is over now. Not most impressive, because if you want to go based off that, sure, I guess UCLA or Michigan would be regarded more highly. But for me, the most impressive win was over Michigan State. It was the first time they trailed all season. They were down 10-0, and what did they do? They scored 47 unanswered. They won 47-10. That's a Michigan State team that is in its first season of a new coaching regime under Jonathan Smith, who is not a native of that area, as we know. He obviously played at Oregon State, was the head coach at Oregon State. He comes to the Big Ten. Yes, this is a Michigan State team that has 4 wins, but it's a Michigan State team that they're frisky. If only in the first half of ball games, they are a frisky outfit.
Michigan State, by the way, beat Indiana in the bowl game to finish the season. Last year.
True.
24-21.
They
not a bowl game, but regular season.
They surprised Iowa. They brought Michigan to the brink. They brought Boston College to the brink. They beat Maryland. I mean, it's not a bad team, but for me, what was so impressive was that everyone went, oh my goodness, here we go. Indiana's going to go right back to who they were. And what did they do? They turned it around in a blink of an eye.
Look, I love Indiana. I'm not arguing with you on that.
No, I know you're not. I know you're not. But to the people, to the listeners, and to those who want to talk about, well, if you're going to say that Indiana is just playing the schedule they have, well, Penn State's just playing the schedule that they have. That's true, but Indiana is steamrolling people on their schedule, and Penn State is playing with fire against a fraudulent USC team.
Do you think we need to go back to divisions? Does that help?
I love divisions because it does create a little clearer of a path, but obviously the teams have decided and the conferences have decided that they didn't like that for this. And that's what's going to be interesting. Like, obviously in the NFL, there are half as many, not even half, there are 4th as many teams. Yeah. So it's a much easier way to decide the champions. And then you meet in the conference championship and then you play in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Here, you're going to have teams in their conference championships that then lose and then don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to figure out, I think, a better way when you have this many teams, for instance, in the SEC that all have the 2 losses. And again, let the season play out. Let's see what happens. Yeah. But if you finish with that many teams with the 2 losses, I do wonder, would divisions help? Because then you at least can go head-to-head in the division instead of some sort of coin flip. I've read people say that. By the way, one other team, really interesting game this Saturday, Colorado at Kansas. That's certainly a make-or-break game for them because right now Colorado is a team that could certainly win the Big 12.
And Kansas is a team that has knocked off Iowa State and BYU in consecutive weeks. Yes. And it's a team that so many thought would be in the playoff conversation. Instead, they are the playoff spoiler come November.
By the way, I'm really sad that on my highlight, I didn't do Peggy. at Colorado saying happy birthday to.
Yes,
that was
so
like the
sweet.
cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
103 years old.
Yes, and then they had her, Coach Prime had her in the press conference after, and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, I love Peggy. I would root for Colorado for Peggy.
Well, certainly Travis Hunter, like we've talked about, is getting a lot of love. Shadur Sanders as well. But as far as I saw that graphic of
the him.
Yes, him versus him, Travis Hunter, the DB versus Travis Hunter,
Who
the
would
wide
win?
receiver.
Travis Hunter, wide receiver?
Well,
or
that's
Travis
what
Hunter?
NFL draft pundits are trying to figure out right now, because that's going to be the question of what position is he going to play at the next level, whether he's selected first overall by the Jaguars or another team. The point being, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's better.
Is there some virtual reality where we can put Travis Hunter against himself?
Right, there's got to be. I mean,
know.
he's a big Twitch streaming guy, so
Yeah.
maybe he can figure it out. What I do know is this. Whoever selects Travis Hunter, if he is to be who we think he is at the next level, it's going to be a great opportunity to save a roster spot, because you could say he's my 6th wide receiver or he's my 6th corner.
We shall see. By the way, I predicted that both Kansas teams would not be in the AP top 25 by the end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Neither is in the top 25. It's just something about Kansas and football. All right, Taylor's Tangent is next. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This is Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. If you want more action,
Woo! It's Smash Mouth football, baby!
Tom McManus.
Fridays 10 to noon on Jaguars Today.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors. A better way to a better window on 1010XL.
Mia here for Duck Duck Rooter. The holidays are coming, and so is your family. Is your septic system ready? What about that leaky kitchen faucet or that toilet that's been struggling to flush? Don't let plumbing chaos steal your holiday cheer. Call Duck Duck Rooter today to fix those issues before Aunt Linda and Cousin Earl blame you for ruining Thanksgiving dinner. Call 904-862-6769 or visit them online at duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here. And fellas, we all know that athletes train every day to perform better on the field, right? But what if you could enhance your performance in the bedroom? No training required. That's right. I'm talking about that secret weapon, Blue Chew. A chewable tablet with the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin that ships right to your door in a discreet package. No doctor visits, no trips to the pharmacy. It's all online. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. They also have Daily Tad that contains 7 essential vitamins. And it's chewable too. And now you can try Blue Chew for the free ski. That's right, for free on me. Visit BlueChew.com and enter my promo code 1010XL. You only have to pay $5 for shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's promo code 1010XL. Let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes. I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
At Honda, we appreciate all the comparisons to other vehicles. And no matter how many times they compare their vehicles to a Honda, only a Honda is a Honda. Remember, value, quality, safety, there is no substitute. Visit your local Honda dealer now and experience the difference.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoor Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Are you ready to upgrade your home? Experience the winning combination of style and performance with Renewal by Andersen. Energy-efficient, custom-built replacement windows and doors. Right now, save 20% on your entire project. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months. This offer expires November 30th and restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com for details.
License number CGC 1527613.
Welcome to ABS Advanced Business Solutions, your local print management partner, and home to Xerox and HP copiers.
Advanced Business Solutions.
Go ABSinc.com.
Hey, David again with Royal Pest Services. TAP Insulation stands for thermal, acoustic, and pest control. Keep your home cool, noise out, and pests dead. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free inspection.
It's a sale so big, it's been over 40 years in the making.
It's Beard's Diamond's incredible 44th anniversary sale. Everything store-wide is on sale, up to 44% off.
Beard's Diamonds at the St. John's Town Center or beardsdiamonds.com.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it. They do it, whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
I'm living proof that with Rebound Rehab, you can bounce back and get back in the game. Joe C. for Rebound Rehabilitation, and they helped me recover from an ankle injury that had me down and out. Their team of physical therapists ensure you'll get the best treatment you need to recover and regain mobility. From back, shoulder, and neck pain to a nagging knee or arthritis, Rebound Rehab can help form a game plan through therapy and exercise, complete with an app so you can continue to recover at home. Check out reboundrehab.com. 8 convenient locations.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dollar, Jay Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. And yes, the Jags are 2-9, but you know what? The sun is shining. It's Florida. We are in the Sunshine State. There are positive things around here. Thanksgiving next week. We're at least thankful we get to talk about sports.
And Taking Back Sunday playing right now.
And there you go. Hopefully the Jags take back Sundays starting December 1st. By the way, it would be wild if after this insanity that we've gone through since the Jaguars lost 52-6, if the Jaguars somehow, some way beat the Texans. And I'm not predicting that, and I'm not saying they're going to want to run, but it would be absolutely insane if Trevor comes back, plays well, and the Jags beat the Texans.
Yep.
After all
and
this.
Coach Campo did say, hey, listen, there's a chance on Duval Rundown yesterday. And as I'm editing it, I was just like, there is a chance. There's always a chance.
Yeah.
But
I was laughing at, so Nick Wright does his like quarterback mountain or whatever. And if you
Mahomes Mountain.
The Mahomes Mountain, sorry. And it's so obviously each week he goes through and says like who makes his mountain. And there's 5 or 6 layers. I can't remember which one. Because it started because Patrick Mahomes was like the king of the mountain. And then it was like the tiers below him. Patrick Mahomes has moved up and down this mountain this year. But some people don't make the mountain. And this year he was like, there's 5 players that do not deserve to be anywhere near this mountain. And he was like, McCorkle. Oh, no.
Which is Mac Jones to people who don't know. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yikes. All right, let's get into Taylor's Tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
We talked a lot of bad football in this town, so I'm going to go talk about some other bad football elsewhere because let's give some other people some hard time a little bit here. So the Dallas Cowboys, obviously, this has been a very disappointing season for the Cowboys, and I think, honestly, league-wide, a lot of people may say the most disappointing just because of the way that the Dallas Cowboys finished last year outside of the playoffs, their regular season, and the year that Dak Prescott had, and what Micah Parsons has looked like, and what Diggs has looked like. And when you have all of these other weapons, people are like, how does this even go on? But I read a stat about how bad the Cowboys are at home this year. And this is honestly insane to go through some of these numbers and talk about how bad they are at home. And we've made the jokes about the sun and how, like, Jerry Jones will put up the blinds for concerts and things like that, but not for their football team. And multiple drops have happened to the Cowboys because of the sun in their eyes. But anyways, so they've been down at least 20 points at some point in every home game this season.
Oh, my God.
They've scored just 5 total touchdowns at home this whole year. And they don't even have the most touchdowns scored at home at AT&T Stadium this year because the Saints have scored 6 touchdowns when they came and played them. Obviously, we know that was just an absolute beating. And the Lions have also had 5. So there's one team that has matched the total in one game, has the more touchdowns than the Dallas Cowboys have all season at home. The Cowboys have lost 6 straight home games, and that's the longest streak since 2015-2016, which was 8 that year. So they're 2 away from tying their record of home game losses. But this is the crazy part. When I go back to last year, they won 16 straight previous home games before they lost to Green Bay in the playoffs this season. 310 yards per game at home. It's 25th in the league. 13.8 offensive points per game. 31st in the league. And so Giants, Bengals,
Are
Bucks.
the Jags worse?
Well, no, all I can think is we talked to Judy Batista of the NFL Network yesterday, and we talked about the idea of the Jags going from the number 1 overall seed to the number 1 pick in a 12-month calendar year.
Yeah.
This is the closest we're going to come to that.
Yes.
To go from a 16-game home winning streak to a potentially 8-game home losing streak.
So the teams they play coming up, Giants, Bengals, Bucks, Commanders, are the remaining home games. So I feel like the Giants feels like they're most winnable. I don't think they can beat the Bengals. I don't think they can beat the Commanders, and I don't think they can beat the Bucks at this point, honestly. So their only hope is to beat the Giants. And by the way, they won by only 5 points the last time they met the Giants. Granted, it was on the road. But those are their next home. That's their remaining home game. So it is still likely, especially with how Dallas has played and how Cooper Rush has played, that they end up winning. They end up losing. That would be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight home games, which would be their record.
And I saw this yesterday. I'm sure y'all did too. Dallas is the only American pro sports team without a home win in 2024. Every other team in the NBA, MLB, NHL, MLS, and NFL all have at least one home win this year. So they're the only ones, to further your point. And look, the Jags, I made the joke, are the Jags worse as far as points at home? Because the most recent outing we saw with the Jags at home, they only scored 7. But they scored 37 against the Colts. And then I'm guessing they would factor in the game against the Patriots, right? Because that's technically a home game. So the Jaguars wouldn't be last because you said they averaged 13 points at home.
That's
So they wouldn't be.
terrible. 13 points.
I mean... There's a phrase I love to say, no bueno, which just means no good in Spanish, obviously. That's how I want to say that. All right, when we come back, Robert Mays will join us, but we've also got a giveaway.
We do. Lunch on the Ladies Lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 5.
All right, we will chat with the Athletics' Robert Mays when we return. It's 1010X on 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Joe C. for Hard Rock Bet, and we're into the second half of football season. You've seen how teams are shaping up. If you haven't already, it's a perfect time to try your first bet at Hard Rock Bet. Perfect example. Earlier this season, a Florida bettor went 16 for 16 picking winners, turned a $15 bet into more than $100,000. Try Hard Rock Bet now and get up to $100 back in bonus bets if your first doesn't win. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of of Helmets and Heels, the Chick-fil-A Peppermint Chip Milkshake is a holiday tradition that's back for another season. Hand-spun the old-fashioned way, this festive peppermint-flavored milkshake is made with Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert and features chips of crunchy peppermint bark. It's minty, merry, and topped with whipped cream and a cherry when served in stores. Order in the Chick-fil-A app or in your local Chick-fil-A restaurant now.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Clean air, cool air, both are extremely important. Trust Florida Home AC to deliver on both with their Remy Halo, the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and breathe clean and cool air.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This season, check out our revamped website at southernsteerbutcher.com. Click on the Promotions tab, and our Jacksonville Weekly Grilling Specials will hit you in the face like a hot route over the middle.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
Stop letting high-interest debt weigh you down. Pay it all off in days thanks to Loan Pronto's new Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Imagine a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home equity. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan uses an AI-driven tech to get you approved for cash in as little as one day. One client got $100,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their debt, launched the home improvement project, and is now saving over $1,000 a month. Instant approvals, low fixed rates, fast transfers. Get cash to consolidate all your debt and get a fresh start to the new year. Call Loan Pronto now and see how much you qualify for. Imagine this time next week, you can be credit card debt-free. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLS, consumeraccess.org.
Me a year, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you could take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. So find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I-9 Sports covers the First Coast with great sports for kids 3 to 17, and winter and spring registration is open right now. New girls volleyball and flag at Duval Charter, plus plenty for boys and girls in Nocatee, too. It's all at i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
Why do you choose Farah and Farah? First, we have the financial resources to take on any insurance company. And our track record proves that we know how to win. Our attorneys and staff are a team, and we've worked together for decades. To us, our job is much more than just a paycheck. We love to help. And this is important. We never forget. It's not about us. It's all about you. Farah and Farah, Jacksonville.
Get more Gators on the Gator Bites podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Friday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL's Gator Bites podcast wherever you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O. If you want high-quality water in your home at a fair price that won't scare you to death, then talk to someone who knows water and is not a pushy salesman. Contact your local water boy, Keith. I install premium equipment and can repair or even rebuild your existing system. In a business known for aggressive sales tactics, let me show you how my approach is different. If you've got any water problems, contact the water boy at waterboyjack.com.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Slow, and I want to talk to you today about having a grateful spirit. As we journey in life, it's so easy to take things for granted. But I want to encourage you to never get tired of thanking God for your blessings. Take time also to thank the people in your life who have and are helping you to become the person you are today. Don't go through life complaining, go through life praising.
To hear more inspirational messages by Reverend Dr. Nicholas Lowe, please visit our website at stjohnthedivine.com.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
With speculation continuing to swirl around the status of Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson, Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk offers his thought on the situation.
It might just be they're trying to figure out what they're going to do next. Who's the interim coach going to be? Are we going inside the organization? We're going outside the organization. We saw 2 years ago, Jim Irsay went outside the organization for Jeff Saturday, which is very unconventional. But if you're not quite sure who's taking over for the rest of the season, that's something that could delay the process, because you don't want to fire the coach and then you spend a day not knowing who the interim coach is. You want to have all that lined up so when you hit the first domino, the others fall naturally. That could be one of the factors.
I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
An honor and a privilege to welcome in the Athletics' Robert Mays to Helmets and Heels on a Wednesday edition. We'll pepper Robert with some questions from around the National Football League, but certainly we also want to address the ongoing unrest here in Duval County. Robert, thanks so much for joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. A huge fan and excited to finally get to speak with you.
Happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's begin with the situation here in Duval County. We had Judy Batista of the NFL Network on yesterday. She kind of gave us her thoughts. You tell me, from a national perspective, of course, growing up a Chicago Bears fan, what do you make of this decision to make no changes following the largest statistical margin of defeat in Jaguars history?
I guess my question is, to what end are you making the changes? I think that if you are going to fire somebody, whether it's a coordinator or a coach, I think it's about figuring out to what end you're trying to do that. Like, I think you mentioned the Bears thing. They fired the offensive coordinator because it couldn't keep going at that rate. If you were you couldn't say that you're interested in development of your number one overall pick quarterback and continue to put him in those circumstances. So I wonder, are you at a point where you think that the message isn't getting through? Are you trying to turn things around? Do you think it can look markedly better with a different voice at the top? I think you could make the argument the Saints have been an example of that this year, where they fired Dennis Allen and they look significantly different with Darren Rizzi as their head coach than they looked with Dennis on your staff that can get those sorts of results out of them for the final 7 weeks, then I can understand that. But if you think that, all right, well, what are we really getting if we fire this person? Are we just going to make it look like there's more unrest, dissatisfaction, turmoil here? Yeah, I think those are the things you have to weigh, and I don't necessarily know where the Jags land on those answers.
Robert, what are your thoughts on Ryan Nielsen? Because that has obviously been one of the coaches that have caught a lot of the criticism. It was a defense that we already thought was bad last year, and then now it looks worse. And it was this guy who everybody kind of thought had this attack style, very aggressive defense in Atlanta, and now it looks like it's one of the worst, if not the worst, in the league. So thoughts on Ryan Nielsen and what he has done here in Jacksonville, but also if that move could potentially do anything for the defense for the remainder of the season if they were to fire him.
It's a great question, and I think a lot of people were impressed with the job that Ryan Nielsen did in Atlanta last year, and to come in and have the defense be this much worse has been kind of shocking. And I just don't know if they have the horses to play the type of defense they've wanted to play this year. Obviously, Tyson Campbell missed a good chunk of the season. They haven't had great outside cornerback play outside of that. And with a team that plays so much man coverage, I think that those guys have been left out to dry a little bit, and I don't know necessarily what the answers are. The other side of that is if you're going to play a bunch of man and you're not going to be a team that blitzes a ton, which they obviously don't, what are you trying to get out of this if you can't generate a pass rush with 4? And that's been one of the most disappointing parts about this is that you have a guy you drafted number 1 overall, you have Josh Hines Allen, you bring in Eric Armstead, and Walker's definitely been better, and Josh Allen is the same player he's been recently. But other than that, they've gotten such little production from their defensive line, and that is just not something that's going to work when you're trying to play the type of defense this team is trying to play.
Robert Mays of The Athletic with us. Robert, when it comes to how attractive this job would be if Shad Khan made the decision to fire Doug Peterson, you do have a franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, whereas some of the other teams with just 2 wins certainly don't have that. How much does that help Jacksonville? Again, if Shad Khan makes a change.
I think it definitely does. I mean, you're looking at a quarterback that you can build around, and I think some intriguing pieces on offense. What Brian Thomas has been this year, I think he's been the best version of what you could have hoped coming into the season. I liked what he was bringing to the table. You look at just the speed, the flexibility. He was an intriguing prospect to me. It's like, all right, maybe in 2 years, he becomes something akin to like what Brandon Ayuk was for the Niners. And his development plan is even definitely fast-tracked from that. I think that's really encouraging. You have some pieces on offense that you can build with, even if you probably have to do a little bit of work along the offensive line, at left tackle and what happens there, et cetera. But I think that foundation with probably the second best quarterback or second most accomplished quarterback of any of the jobs that are going to come open this offseason after Dak Prescott in Dallas, that is a selling point for me if I'm trying to lure the right coach, the right general manager this offseason.
Couple more for Robert Mays on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Robert, as we segue from Jacksonville to the rest of the National Football League, I think that's a good starting point. I'm curious, and of course, Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network just dropped his list of coaches to watch for this hiring cycle. You mentioned Dallas. Where do you believe the other head coaching openings will be in the National Football League that the Jaguars could be competing with? Ditto to general managers, as well as who might be that guy. And please, I know you're going to want to say Ben Johnson, and that's okay. We can include Ben Johnson. But if there's other names, other young, up-and-coming offensive minds who you think could pair with Trevor Lawrence and finally unleash him onto the National Football League?
I think that if you're counting jobs right now, I would assume there's going to be between 7 and 8 that end up opening. So you already have the Jets and the Saints. I think that the Bears will move on from their head coach. I think that the Cowboys obviously will. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones. The Jags, absolutely. I think Cleveland is probably going to end up being in that conversation. Those are the ones that immediately come to mind. The Giants are probably right teetering on the edge, but I think they might lean to keeping Brian Daboll depending on how the rest of the season goes. So between 7 and 8 would ultimately be my guess. It's an interesting cycle just because I think that over the last couple of years we've seen this where you have most of the coordinators from these attractive coaching trees. They've really been picked over. You have guys that are probably going to be getting really strong looks as head coaches after a year or 2 years as an effective offensive coordinator. And so like the first name I would throw out, just something I would like to see. I would like to see this offense with Trevor Lawrence is like what Liam Cohen was doing in Tampa this year with Baker Mayfield. And the results they've continued to get even after they've had some injuries at wide receiver. Just something like that, somebody from that general tree and that general offensive family with Trevor Lawrence and his skill set and with these playmakers, I would be interested in seeing how that would go.
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually just talking to somebody a couple hours ago that used to work in Tampa about Liam Cohen because that's a name that definitely I've had my eye on.
Yeah, you can't see it, Robert, but
Chicago.
I just did the celebration, Robert. You didn't see it. As you said, Liam, I just did the rocket ship celebration. Sorry to cut you off, Taylor.
No, it's all right. I want to talk a little bit about I think the team that a lot of people are looking at in Detroit, and especially here because both of these teams have had many rebuilds in recent years, and this most recent one has been about the same time when it has started, and they're on very different paths right now, it seems like. And the trenches when you're talking about offensive line, Robert, because when you look at teams like Kansas City, Detroit, Philly, Green Bay, those are teams that I feel like just keep being able to do it, and now Detroit's been able to figure it out, I guess I should say. Is there a sense of luck in that when it comes to identifying offensive linemen from college football to the NFL, and then also when it comes into the health factor and something like that? Do you see a sense of luck?
Yeah, I think you always have to get a little bit lucky, but I think it's where your priorities lie. And from the beginning, the Lions announced themselves in terms of how they were going to build that team. Penei Sewell being the first draft pick of that regime is not an accident. And I think that it's about how you seek those players out, but it's also about what sort of coaching you have on that side. I think outside of your head coach, your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, your offensive line coach is right there in terms of how important that person is and getting the most out of that position group consistently. You know, the individual talent is great, but I think that what really sticks out is the Lions will have games where they're missing starting offensive linemen. Frank Ragnow missed a game. Graham Glasgow missed a game. You know, Taylor Decker will miss a game. You don't even notice. And I think that speaks to cohesion, that speaks to ecosystem, that speaks to what type of team you want to be and what type of coaching you have. And I feel like the teams that have that, you notice it. The teams that don't, you notice it the other way. So I think it's about organizational priorities, and it's about as much as it's about how you spend your resources and how lucky you get when you're trying to build that group.
Robert, we talked about, I came up with 5 teams that I think can win the Super Bowl. The Lions, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Ravens. Is there another team? Should the Steelers maybe in there? Or is there anyone else that we missed?
That's probably a pretty good group. As I think about the NFC, yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued by I'm probably not there with the Packers yet. I think that there's still enough questions and enough youth, especially on defense. I think that that's a team that their ceiling is probably a little bit higher than we're conceiving of it right now, just because it's been sort of a strange season with them, with Jordan Love's injury, et cetera. But I think that's one I would probably keep an eye on. I'm a little bit worried about the Sam Darnold factor in Minnesota. I think that, you know, obviously their timeline is so strange. I think this was supposed to kind of be like an interstitial year as they brought J.J. McCarthy along and then dropped him in next year. So they're probably a little bit ahead of schedule, and maybe they probably don't rise to that level. That's probably the group that I would end up throwing out there. I think the Steelers are incredibly well coached. What they've put on the field this year is definitely impressive, but I'm just not sure the offense has the pop for them to get all the way there when you compare them to some of these other teams.
And as we wrap with you on the Garber Auto Mall hotline, Robert Mays of The Athletic, we talk about Super Bowl contenders. I've seen plenty of lists circulating the internet today that also point out teams that we may not be thinking about right now that can make the postseason, that will make the postseason. Who is your dark horse for the playoffs? And yes, I put an asterisk on that because we did say it already once on the program today. Technically, while I don't think 8-9 would get you into the big dance, the Jaguars do have an opportunity with their 6 remaining games where they probably will figure to be favored in all 6 of them. Or all but one of them, let's put it that way. Perhaps all but 2.
You got a few teams in the AFC that have narrow paths but are not necessarily eliminated. I'd throw the Bengals in there. I'd throw the Dolphins in there. You could probably make an argument that it's possible. I'd say it's probably not likely. I'm curious what the Colts look like down the stretch. You know, that's a team that I think is probably a little bit better than people recognize in terms of the talent that they have across that entire roster. Just a question of what sort of quarterback play they were going to get. The Jets have been an absolute mess, so I'm not sure that last week is the best barometer, but I'm at least intrigued to watch what the Colts are down the stretch. And then just what's happening with the NFC West. You know, can one of those teams somehow force their way into the wild card conversation even if they don't win the division? Well, we've done this on our show over the last couple of weeks. I think we'll continue to do it. Every week I ask my co-host, who do you think is going to win the NFC West? And you could have a different answer every single week depending on how you're feeling and how the wind is blowing. All of those teams feel relevant. So teams like the Cardinals, teams like the Colts, you know, can they somehow manage to muscle their way in? But I think for the most part now, we probably know who the usual suspects are. And
we do love that show, the Athletic Football Show with Derek. And if there's anything else that we can plug for you on your way out the door, sir, of course, we're following you at Robert Mays on X as well.
That's really it. Just the Athletic Football Show 3 times a week, wherever you get your podcasts.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Robert, on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Have a great rest of your season if we don't talk to you before then.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
There he goes again. That's Robert Mays of the Athletic Football Show. Again, at Robert Mays on X. Before we go, RJ.
Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
All right, I'm going to make a second women's basketball reference of the program, and everyone's going to get all bent out of shape. I will tell you this, in an effort to once again compare something in the women's basketball universe to something I'd love to see in the National Football League, the NBA, and the 4 major sports in North America. The Unrivaled, which is the winter 3-on-3 basketball league that will debut in Miami and on Turner Sports properties later in this not this calendar year, it'll be in January. They had their opening draft. So they assigned the rosters. They will have 6 rosters. They have 36 players. They did a draft by doing it in pods, and so they took like all of the centers, they took all the forwards, the 6 coaches, as well as the executive members of Unrivaled all sat down in a taped format, and they actually drafted all 6 of those teams based on, hey, I think this young player could benefit from playing with this older player. Hey, let's put Brianna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd back together again because they played together on the Seattle Storm. Hey, let's put Jackie Young and Marina Mabry, college teammates. Let's put them together as well. And I just want to give a shout out to the actual video production of it, which was awesome. It went live 11 a.m. on YouTube. Hundreds of thousands of people watching. But the live-to-tape model, it was a cinematic theatrical movie almost that they unleashed onto the universe at 11 a.m. on the dot. That's something that when I interned at the Academy of Country Music 10 years ago, we did. And it's something that I thought would go away in this age of live streaming and everything being up to the minute. I actually loved the way they did this, that they sat down, they drafted a week ago or so. They taped it. They put it together in this movie-type format. And so, hey, listen, if we were to ever see some sort of Pro Bowl perhaps draft like this, or if it's a winter off season, I don't know, just throwing out ideas here, either in the NFL or the NBA, some sort of alternative league in the off season, I think it would certainly create engagement, not just the winter league or off season league, but also this idea of a draft that isn't happening in real time, but it's created to be almost like a movie of sorts.
That is cool. That's a cool feature. I want to go back to something that Robert Mays was just saying that you did fist bump to, and that was the Liam Cohen thing, because we have talked a lot about Ben Johnson. Obviously, you should talk about Ben Johnson. But when I was saying so, I talked to Zach Blobner, who used to work down in Tampa, iHeartRadio, before some of these layoffs have happened. But he's still doing Tampa content. And so I had messaged him because he posted something about Liam Cohen, and I was asking about his opinion when it comes to Liam Cohen being a head coach. And so his response, I quote, because I asked, just in general thoughts about him potentially being a head coach somewhere this next upcoming season. He said, he's a heck of a lot better than I felt about Dave, talking about Canales becoming one in Carolina this season. Liam is a much better play caller, a much more complex football mind in terms of execution. You can see where he comes from, that McVay tree in LA. So I think that is definitely a name that down here, and I know we'll talk more about this as when people actually maybe get fired or as
when
the
there
season
are coaching vacancies.
Yeah, but it is a name to still maybe go watch some Bucs games and see if you like what's going on down there.
Yeah, I'll cool down with 2 things. One, that is the first time that interstitial has ever been used on our program. That Robert Mays said, if you're not sure exactly what that word means when he was referring to the Vikings, it kind of means like a gap year. This was more of a year when they thought they'd be transitioning without Kirk Cousins, but all of a sudden they found themselves certainly playing really good football. I'll also cool down with the fact that there is no Jaguars programming tomorrow, so we will be here. Just a reminder there. And finally, Fred Taylor, shout out to him. He is a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the 6th time. And I think every single Jags fan would love, RJ, would love for Freddie T to be a finalist and get enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And everybody who had so much fun in Canton a couple years ago when Tony Baselli was enshrined can make their plans to head to Canton once again.
And, of course, we also will be keeping tabs on Tom Coughlin, potentially being the coach that could be inducted into the class of 2024. He is among, I believe it's 9 finalists.
Tom Coughlin certainly deserves to be enshrined as well. All right, that's going to do it for us today. But like I said, we will be back tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. XL Primetime's coming up next. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking, and we will chat with you on a Thursday.
All over you. Yeah. You keep lying when you ought to be truthing, and you keep losing when you ought to not bet. walk all over you.
Helmets and heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.